Alright, so in this video we're going to show you how to, in chapter 8, how to use multi-dimensional arrays in Java. I'm going to use let's say we have college, right? College is the main, okay? Then in the college we're going to have a lot of students, right? So we can create an array of students. So if we talk about one-dimension array, which is now I didn't use an array for this one, which is student 20, but I want to create a list of students. Then it could be an array of objects. So students are the objects that we create inside student class here, right? So we're gonna say students new. Now a lot of people making mistake too, that when you look at new, when you talk about array of objects, it looks like you instantiate an object for student, but actually you didn't instantiate an object. You only create a size, right? So I'm talking about if it's a single dimension first, it's only one square, right? Brackets. Then you create a size, like, okay, list of 10 students, for example. But you didn't instantiate the object of students. When you try to access to that, you will get new part exceptions. Like, sometimes a lot of people make mistake, like, for the beginner or students, you guys say, I want to access to object of my students. How come it didn't work? Right? Like student has get age, right? I want to get an age. You don't have an access to get age. There's an error right there, right? Because you did not create an object for student yet. This is only an array. Make sense? And even you say, okay, access an array, you have to create an index like that, right? So let's take a look. Okay, when you create index, actually, yeah, it does know who is the student, has their method get age, right? There's no errors now. But when you run it, it still give you an error. No part exception, like I said, because the object never been created. You only create an array. Right. It still allows you to do .getAge because it thought that you may say student 0 actually it is Tony, and Tony happened to create an object. Then at this point it should return 17 as age, right? And there's no new part exception. Or you just need to create the object, because Tony is created object new student, and then start to give the name. It could prompt the user to enter the name, enter the age, right? So in that case we can just, of course this is an array, so we want to use the loop, because we didn't use the curly braces to initialize all the arrays, right? Then I equal to 0 and I less than students dot length, and then we do I plus plus. In this case we're going to get this student with the scanner, or let's say we want to prompt the user to enter the name. Let's say we can use J-option pane too. Let's use J-option pane. stu name equals to J-option pane dot show input dialog. So show input dialog is going to pop up and prompt the user say enter name, right? Alright, so after the user enter name, the name will just come into student name, and then we pass that student name, right? And if you want to get student age, so do the same thing with student age. Now student age is going to be int or short. Okay, let me just use int for now. The option pane dot show input dialog. Enter age. Enter student name. Enter student age. Now we need to import the option pane to use. In IntelliJ you can do enter. Create class J option pane. I don't see the option, so I'm going to manually import Java x.swing.j option pane. This is no swing. I see, because the JDK, right? Now I just need to switch to use the 1.8 by going to run the edit configurations, and GRE just need to switch to 1.8. So let's try that. We're going to, this is int, so you need to parse the string to int, right? So integer dot parse int. Because when you read int, it's always string, you have to convert to int because age is the int. Now it's pretty much just loop through I, so we can pretty much just prompt 10 times if it's the size 10. But for the test thing version, I'm not going to spend time for 10 times. Let's do 3 students. And then this is pretty much just, we can just loop and show out the output of student. We can do for each. For each is a shortcut with the student. We can say, okay, st, this is can be an object student, which is from array students. I can just do for each and print out. Let's do just the 2-string version of that, which is just each student that return. Now let's run this. For each you don't need I. For each students in the array. There you go. So we have the option pane showing up. Student name, student age, I'm 17. Student name. Alright, so tell me your age then. Chris. Okay. Student name, James. 20. Alright, so it happened to, when I print this, it's actually print just array. Because I do for each, I have to say for each student, stu is the variables, right, of my array students I want to print out. Alright, so let's do again. The object student, not the array. So I'm the youngest. See? So this is how you use a single array. Now, we want to show you how to do the multidimensional. Let's say we're going to have student with their scores. We want to create a table now, right? Assignment 1 score, assignment 2 score for each student. We just put more. Let's say we have assignment, project, midterm, exam. So we have 4. Right? Just like our rubrics, right? So each student has, now we have 2-dimensional arrays. So technically we only loop through each student. Then we need to have nested loop for each of the student. After a prompt and insert the name to each student. I also want to get the scores, right? So that means I need nested loop. First loop is going down through the rows, right? The second loop is going to go down through the columns, right? So for int j, sometimes people like to do row, column, then you don't get confused. Like where say I'm going to just change it to refactor it. Let's just do rename, right? I'm going to rename it to row. Right? So now you're not confusing, right? Column go to 0. Column. Like we said, we want to get to the length. How do we do that? We have to get to the row, right? Dot length. Now we get the length by column for each row. And then we just do column plus plus. Alright, so closing the loop. Now what we want to do is we try to put the scores for each student. For example, now we have to modify our student class as an object to include the score. Right? Now we only have name and age. Now we gotta do those scores. And if we look at, let's say attributes, right? Attributes here. Private. Now we have 4 scores. We can actually do an array of score here. 2. Let's make score as double scores. And then we can just do set and getters. Generate set and getters scores. So let me just move it down. Because we want to put comments, but now I'm not including it. So let's put the scores right there. You can get a score and set the scores for each student, right? So we're going to also include another constructor where we can pass the array of score to initialize.